Well, if you're doing a thing which has the potential to have an effect on society which you think is beneficial, then why not go there? Me getting involved with soundtracks is purely accidental. I love film and I love stories. Soundtrack is interesting because it's very demanding, like on a technical level. You have to have a very good kind of technical toolkit in order to be able to then make something which works with images, is very precise in terms of time. I just think it's a bit like going to the gym, you know, it's like composer gym.
I love film. I love going to films. You know, obviously when there is special music, where you distinctly notice how amazing the music is.
It is a very powerful tool in filmmaking, but for general purposes, music in the film, most of the time you shouldn't really be noticing. If it's drawing attention to itself, it's not really doing its job.
I was composing really before I knew what composing was. So I always, as a kid, you know, when I was tiny, I always had music going around in my head. I used to be practicing at home, and the milkman heard me practicing. Because at that time, I you know, was playing Mozart, you know, and that was it. So he started delivering sort of vinyl records with the morning milk. Like early Philip Glass and Terry Riley and Lamont Young, and it was really quite out there stuff. So I got this sort of experimental music training from the milkman, which is very cool.
First came here in '93. A friend of mine was a friend at the time, was a film composer, and I was staying with him, and he was working on a John Woo movie. He wasn't having trouble, but the stuff he was doing wasn't very interesting, musically, in my opinion. I said, well, you need some better sounds for this movie. When I get home, I'll send you some, which I did. Shortly after that, he called me up and said, look, you really need to be working for me here in LA, because I need you to be doing this for me on a full-time basis. So I moved here, and I've been here ever since.
So if you're going to Bristol tomorrow, are you talking to the Portishead guys? Yes, excellent.
It wouldn't have worked if we didn't have the same sort of musical brain, which we do from very different angles, but we have quite a similar outlook on things. And so it wouldn't have worked if that wasn't the case. But as that is the case, it's meant that we've been able to sort of morph into each other's roles.
Ben, you know, is a composer in a traditional sense of kind of there's the picture and we'll score, that person walk through the door. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, where I would most probably come from a soundtrack point of view, which is someone who just writes music and then that gets used in film. It's a completely different business to the music business. You're part of the cog, you're a cog in the machine rather than being the band on stage and or producing a record. So it keeps on changing, which makes it really, really interesting. But you do have to realise that you aren't the band that's on stage. You are literally one of those cogs, and you've got to work for the best of the machine, you know. Which is difficult when you've got a big mouth like me.
Yeah, but it makes it more, if you feel you're an integral part of that machine.
Yeah.
Then it's
good.
Then it works, you know.
This building isn't a house. It's a research facility. And I want to talk to you about what I'm researching.
We tend to read the scripts, if possible. On 2 or 3 films we've been to see a bit of it being shot, just because it might be informative, but also because it's fun. The 2 Alex Garland films we worked on, that's meant we worked on them both for a much longer period of time than you would normally. We all decided after watching a run through that Caleb was falling in love with Ava too quickly. You know, how can we change this? One of the biggest things you've got at your disposal is the music. So we changed the music for that first scene where he sees Ava on the CCTV screen and made it more tense and more dark and weird because, you know, he is intrigued by her, but she's a robot. You change the temperature of one bit of the film, especially in a film like Ex Machina, and the same in Annihilation as well, where you're building things towards a certain point. But I far prefer it that way round than feeling you were bolted on at the end and just, you know, just slapping things on to cover where there's just essentially replacing temp music, which does happen.
Most of the things that we work on we've been lucky from the very beginning.
Always wanted to compose for film, for lots of reasons. Maybe mostly because a lot of what I do is actually quite isolated. You are writing a lot of music from start to finish on your own and then handing it over to other people to play, or playing it with your own band, or producing electronics, whatever it is. The way that I'm trying to write for film, in a way, is the only way I can write for film. I don't think I'm the kind of composer that anyone who might want me to write for their film is going to say, and now can you write something that sounds a bit like Bach, or can you write something that sounds a bit like Kraftwerk? I feel like the collective experience I have across all the different sorts of stuff that I've done has made me the kind of composer I am. And if that works for your film, and you know, and it's the kind of sound that you're after, then that's going to work really well.
Hey guys, it's Kayla back with another video. Being yourself can be hard, and it's like, aren't I always being myself? And yeah, for sure.
I remember describing the sound of the movie as like, I want it to be like, what if Trent Reznor was a 13-year-old girl? That was like the initial idea of it, kind of. And as I was trying to describe who I wanted, I thought I was describing a person that was never exist or will exist, and then I found Anna. It was just everything.
He wanted someone who could write electronics, who maybe had the classical background, so could work in that way, or work notated in that way if needed to. And that he said he wanted someone who had confidence and bold ideas, but also sort of warmth in the sound. Also, the movie is about a girl sort of in the world digitally and sort of DIYing her life. A lot of coming of age scores are like little mandolins and sort of staccato strings, and everything makes it feel very cute and small. And we wanted to make something that was very not that. So I just wanted something that felt alive. And Anna writes very theatrical music, and she takes big, really bold choices. Nobody really normally gives me any feedback on what I do, in a way, which is sort of what I'm used to. I'm used to just being like, and here it is, go forth and enjoy this amazing work. And so having, obviously someone say, okay, so this is great, but maybe this and this and this. So after a while, it worked out that it was going to make so much more sense for him to come here. I went over to London in her studio at Somerset House, and just for a week sat with her. I would give her some notes and talk about an idea for a thing, go away for 6 hours, and she'd come back with this track that was all just, sampled sounds and sort of roughly put together. She's so deeply unpretentious for someone that uses, 9/4 time signatures every other song. She's not afraid of anything. Having seen the film a few times, I'm so proud of it, and I think it's a really great film.
And you get kind of commercial composers that will do what a company asks.
You can't polish a turd, is a popular expression, and if you are trying to polish a turd, it's do your best, but it can be a challenge.
It could be a comedy, and they want kind of, it could be like an amazing person like Danny Elfman, or, have definitely got their own style, but maybe lesser people than him that just kind of will do, they're just commercial composers. Nothing wrong with that. But people like us and McLeavy, or, Ben Frost, or, Clint Mansell, they will deliver what they do rather than what they want.
Producer is the person who calls the shots. They're the ones, it's their movie. Not only do they call the shots, it's their project, but also they're the ones who are hiring you. And quite often what you think you sign on to is a very different movie. When you actually get to see it, you think, something that on paper or conceptually is really exciting and cool to work with, by the time you see it, the finished product, it's like, oh, it's not very good.
Yeah, you know, the soundtracks are obviously fundamentally a collaborative thing, you know. And that's actually one of the things I enjoy about doing it, because, you know, composing on your own, sitting in a room, is sort of quite an isolated situation. And soundtracks is sort of, it's like collective sort of puzzle solving, and I enjoy that aspect of it. You know, it does take a few years, actually. There's very few people who are kind of fully formed. You know, just do it because you love it. And then at least you're having a good time, right?
Try and make your own sounds, because, you know, that's the reason why kind of someone like Hacks and Cloak is now doing scores, because he makes his own sounds. It sounds like himself, you know. Instead of kind of going to your library and going, oh yeah, this is a big koto drums, and this is a, oh, I'm going to use that Mikkelivi scrapey thing. No, just let her do that. You do something else.
And it's difficult.
You know, I know what it's like I sent off millions of demos to people, and you know, nobody gets back to you, and you think, what was that for and stuff. So it's, you know, it's a bit disheartening. It can be a bit disheartening. So you have to be happy to do it for its own sake.
If you do something good, if you do something really, really good, people will hear it. Yeah. They will hear it. Because there's so much kind of noise out there. It will break through. It absolutely will.
And it is a cliche, but there is only one person that can be you.
You know, there's really only one thing that you've got that no one else has got. And that's your own biography, your life, the things you've got to say, the experiences only you have had. If you make that the center of your work, then you have, first of all, more chance that it feels authentic to other people. Plus, you'll be happier doing it because it's actually your stuff. Find your voice.